Guess who forgot to film an intro for this? Hi! Hey! Hi! It's me, your boy, and I guess I'm coming to you from the future. So I just filmed the ending to this wrap-up vlog thing, and I transferred the clip to my hard drive, and then I looked at the folder, and I realized, I never filmed an intro to this. So hi! It is me coming to you from after finishing filming the video, I guess. Yeah, just let's get on with it, shall we? Excuse the hair. I just came out of the shower. I desperately needed one. I finished A Lady for a Duke last night, and this is such a good book. I'm not a Regency romance reader. I don't vibe with the whole aesthetic and the boring things people did back then, but this book is so good. It's so good. I asked myself, how can we have a romance that takes 450 pages to do something? Every single page was needed. Every single page was just making things even better. There is not a single part that I would cut out. Not a single one. Even the boring parts I would keep because they are placed in such a good way that you can just breathe from the tension between these two characters. I am deeply in love with this and I need more. I need more. Maybe I'm entering my Regency romance era. I don't know. Jess from This Kiwi already challenged me to read Bridgerton. And I have to say, I am already chasing what this book gave me. And yes, I did start watching Bridgerton. I'm 4 episodes in, and the Duke of Hastings. I can't even put my feelings about this book into words, into adequate words that would describe the feelings I have about this book. This just made me swoon so much. If you followed me on my Instagram stories while reading this book, you know exactly how I feel about this book, because there are live reactions on there. Also, shameless self-plugging, if you want to see live reactions to me reading certain books, it's in my Instagram. It's linked in the description down below. This is so good. And I think it was done very well, the handling of a character like Viola, who's a trans woman, in the Regency era. It was done so well without being insulting. Like, her situation was explained without being insulting or having to stoop down to, like, completely dead-naming her or using the wrong pronouns when directly talking to her. It was just people who didn't know that she was this person in the past that were talking about memories they had with the person she was. For clarification, she faked her own death, more or less. It was done so well. And there is a smut scene in here. There is a smut scene in here between Viola and the Duke, and it is done so tastefully. It is wholesome smut! 2 words that should not go together. But it is wholesome smut! And it is, again, done so respectfully. Like, we do name genitals, but never hers. We only name his genitals, never hers. It is done so well and so respectfully. This is such a great book. This is such a great book. If you're looking for a Regency romance, I can only recommend reading this book. It is so good. This is the first 5-star of my year, and yes. I was not expecting this book to be this good. I was not expecting this book to capture me in the way it did. And now I'm watching fucking Bridgerton because of it. What? Okay, so I finished Mona, and I enjoyed it. It's very German. The humor in this is very, very German. I would even go as far as to say it's not just German humor, it is specifically humor you can find in the region I'm living in, because this book is set in a city right around the corner from here. Like, it's half an hour with the car, if you're lucky, on the highway. The humor is very much this area. Very much. And it's also kind of juvenile. The whole book is kind of juvenile. It's not a YA. All of these characters are like in their mid-20s. I mean, well, the main character is in her mid-20s. We have a 2,000-year-old vampire in here and a demon that is even older, so...
Vampires!
But it's very much not for a younger audience necessarily, but it reads very juvenile. I don't know how to explain it other than calling it juvenile. Also, this book does something very German, which is overuse exclamation points. I think the plot was funny, because all I knew going into this was that this witch, Mona, is summoning an archdemon, and that the summoning goes a bit wrong, so they're now tied together more permanently than they anticipated. And the funny part is, the way he, the demon, is bound to her, it's because of the way she phrased his summoning, basically, and her request was to help her. Just to help her. So it's a very open-ended contract that they have, and the summoning formula thing she used is also permanent. She didn't know it was permanent. So now every time she has a problem, he shows up. Doesn't matter what kind of problem. So you have literally scenes where she forgot to bring change to the supermarket and he just shows up in his underwear because he was at home changing, and she had the problem of not having change with her. So he shows up, butt naked, basically, in the middle of a supermarket to help her with her spare change. Multiple times he gets summoned because she forgot an umbrella, and he just had to do it. He just shows up. Like, she cannot control when she's summoning him, and he cannot not be summoned because of this weird contract that they have. It is ridiculous. This book is hard to quantify, because at times it was juvenile in a way that was just blatantly annoying, like... For example, Boris and Ben. I thought I would like these two idiots. Boris is the 2,000-year-old vampire, and he is basically, what's his name? Astarion from Baldur's Gate. But at the same time, he's lacking a maturity I would expect from a guy who has lived for 2,000 years. Like, he's very much a caricature of a vampire that has been around for 2,000 years. And Ben... So Ben is a werewolf, and the way werewolves work in this world is really weird because apparently he has a human form, he has a human-wolf hybrid form, and then he can just turn into a full-blown wolf, but also the wolf looks like a dog, and I'm just confused. I'm confused. But what got me the most about Ben, and I could not get over this, when we meet Ben, he is... in his, I think, hybrid form. I think he's in his hybrid form. And Boris goes to pet him like he would pet a dog. And Ben responds with growling and saying that he is not a dog and you should not pet him like a dog. And then for the rest of the book, Mona proceeds to literally pet him like a dog and he's enjoying it? I don't know, that was kind of weird. And he very much behaves like a dumb dog. Like, not even the cute kind of dumb, it's just dumb. Sometimes it's cute, but mostly because we are being told that Mona thinks it's cute. It felt at times a bit like infantilizing Ben, because Ben, again, is a grown-ass man, technically. He just has certain behaviors you would see with a puppy, for example. And Mona is, when she witnesses this behavior, she kind of infantilizes him. Like, this is cute, but as in, this is cute for a puppy. And we're talking about a grown-ass man here. Also, the drama plot about the vampire magician I was promised, that was so in the back of it. The book is basically just following Mona in her everyday life, and she's a very clumsy person, so that is where some of the humor comes from, and then the other part of the humor comes from her interactions with the very eccentric Boris, and the very dog-like behavior of Ben, and then the very grumpy behavior of Balthazar. And yes, there are 3 characters in here that have a name that starts with the letter B. It does get confusing because later Ben has a girlfriend and her short name is, I think, Ben or something. Like, she also has a name that starts with a B. It is very confusing. So this is more like a slice of life thing than a plot about a weird vampire magician that is causing problems. The problems are very much in the background because the problems that Balthazar the demon has to solve are very much day-to-day mishaps that happen in Mona's life. And I sound like I critique this book to a level where I hate it. I didn't. I was very much entertained by what is going on in this. This is just very stupid German humor, and it is kind of juvenile, but it made this whole thing easy to read, and I very much enjoyed it, and I will get the other 2 books in the trilogy. Also, like, Balthazar and Mona, once they figure themselves out and realize there's something more than just a weird summoning accident, they're just so cute together. I love Balthazar. And I know a lot of people who would enjoy this book, and I'm very sad that this is only available in German because the people I know would enjoy this book don't speak German! But yeah, overall I gave this, I think, 4 stars. Like, somewhere between 3.5 and 4 stars. I was very much entertained. I like this one. Less romance than I thought, though. I finished Sinner by Simone. I don't know what to say about this book. Namely because I ate it up in like 2 giant chunks, and there weren't many thoughts involved when reading this. This is one of those books you read because you want to read something that is easily digestible and you know where it's going, and like, this is candy. This does not take the Lord's name in vain as much as Priest did. Probably because technically no one is working for the man yet. Our main character, Zanny, is about to become a nun, and the whole premise is that she wants to figure shit out before she does that, before she chooses a life of celibacy and stuff. So she wants to go out with a bang, basically. And over the course of this book, she realizes that that's not what she wants to do. But there is no one who's like actively working for the man just yet. Whereas in Priest, one of our main characters was an actual acting priest. I was not expecting the emotional side story we have going on. That was... We went there. So if you want to read this, trigger warning for cancer treatment, and parental death to cancer, because we went there. This was also mentioned in Priest, because that is why the main character in Priest became a priest, and it's a main reason why the main character in here is the way he is. Their little sister was SA'd by a priest and then killed herself because of it down the line, so be aware that this is also in here. But despite these hard-hitting topics being in there and being part of the character motivation and everything, this book's fucking candy. This book's candy, and I ate it up like my life depended on it. This was a nice read. This was a very nice read. I had fun. Hi. I just came back from a weekend trip to visit my sibling. They live basically on the other side of the country, so it was a whole thing. And on the way there, which was a 3-hour train ride, I finished another one of my February books, which is the Cupid distribution system by... let's all pretend I know the author's name. Was a cute, short, trans Valentine's Day novella thingamathing thing, which is double cool because I was going there on Valentine's Day, like Friday the 14th of February. I was, after a long delay, I was on that train for 3 hours, and that is where I read this novella. It's cute, it's short, it does what it sets out to do, which is to couple up a Cupid named Iris and a cute autistic trans lady whose name I already forgot. I am so sorry. Basically, our main character is a bit disgruntled when it comes to Valentine's Day because no one ever shows any romantic interest in her for various reasons, and there is a bit of self-deprecation going on because of all of that. Then we have the Cupids, and the Cupids usually get like assigned multiple people, but not on Valentine's Day. On Valentine's Day they get one person, and customer satisfaction is the most important thing, not the success rate. And it's the first time that our specific Cupid is allowed to pick her own candidate, and she picks the other main character, and they just get to talking, and then it's like, okay, what is your ideal first date? And that is what they do. They go to the park, they go to a little karaoke / music bar thingamathing thing. Like, it's all cutesy. They basically speedrun multiple different dates on a single day. Then things happen between them because the whole setup is Technically, Iris was supposed to take this human and couple them up with someone else. But our human is very autistic and is like, can we do a trial run that is like completely judgment free? And the Cupid is like, well, it's not against the rules, so why not? So human and Cupid go on all of these dates, and the dates work, and by the end of it, they very much enjoy each other's company and decide, hey, this is going to be very complicated, but what if we are just having a relationship instead of you and a human? It's very cutesy, and it was the perfect thing to fill a 3-hour train ride on Valentine's Day. Cute and short, and I loved it. Can only recommend. I also inherited this ginormous hoodie from my sibling. They wanted to get rid of it, and I was like, it's black, it's red, I want it. So now I have a giant jacket / tent I get to live in. And I also bought some books, because of course, in my defense, I read Butcher and Blackbird and Leather and Lark, and I loved it, and Scythe and Sparrow just came out. So how can I say no to that? It's pink, and it's a romance, and James from James Too Good recommended it wholeheartedly to me. Am I going to read it in February? Probably not, but it's pink and it's a romance, and it was highly recommended by James. James, at this point, is 2 out of 2 when it comes to recommendations, so I trust his judgment. I follow the author on Instagram, and they make really cute horror foresty thingies for this book, so I heard great things about this, so I wanted it, so I got it. It was either this or Deep End by Ellie Hazelwood, and I never read an Ellie Hazelwood before. I mean, I also never read the C.G. Drews before, but here we are. Technically, I also got 3 mangas, but they're all the way out there, and I am too lazy to get them now. Sucks to suck. Me again. Hi. Who else would it be? I finished another book, and this one comes with a bit of backstory, because it wasn't on my February TBR originally. It happened to me, more or less. So, remember how I said that The Lady for a Duke is amazing? And that I actually started watching Bridgerton after it because of that? Well, I apparently took a jump, like just head first, into my basic bitch era, because I read a Regency romance and fell in love with it. I started watching Bridgerton and fell in love with it. I'm 2 seasons down at this point. What the fuck? And I got excited when I saw the trailer for season 4 dropping last weekend. What the fuck? What the actual fuck? Then, on the trip to my sibling, they introduced me to matcha, and I fell in love with matcha, so now I'm drinking matcha lattes. What the fuck? So I'm 3 out of 3 for my basic bitch era. And I decided, okay, how hard can it be? How hard can I go into my basic bitch era, right? And I thought to myself, I need another book to fill my time, because I have been blasting through my February TBR, so I know I have room for at least another book. So I started looking, and I was like, okay, it needs to be a romance, it needs to be pink, ideally it's queer as well, and I would like it to be an audiobook, or something that I can read with an audiobook. And I wanted to see how basic of a bitch I can be. So I picked up Red, White, and Royal Blue, and I fell in love with it! I am not kidding. I ate this book up, and it actually became my second 5-star of the year. What the fuck is wrong with me? I haven't yet seen the movie. I have been told they changed some very crucial things between the book and the movie, and apparently there will be a second movie for some reason. I don't know, I don't care, I haven't seen the movie yet. I will watch the movie because, oh, this book did things to me. Also, shout out to the audiobook narrator, because yes, nailed all the accents, brilliant character work. But yeah, I like Regency romances. I like basic bitch contemporary romances with cartoon covers. You know, that one goal I had last year for some reason. And I like matcha lattes. I am very glad that I do not like avocado or pumpkin spice, so I can at least dodge those 2 bullets. But I'm like right on the edge of becoming a full-blooded basic bitch. Holy shit. I was correct in my assumption that forced cuddling is something that I enjoy. It sounds so whack when I say that, but the way it was explained in this book does make sense. I love Lillian Lark's writing, and I love the world of this bathhouse monster romance thing. It's just, yes! This specifically is, I think, a book that highlights the way Lillian Lark writes characters. I said before, multiple times, Lillian Lark writes amazing monster smut with amazing characters. And this one specifically highlights that. Yes, there is some smut in here. There is a lot of smut in here. It's a smutty monster romance. Of course there's smut in here. But I feel the smut in this is a lot more subdued than it was in Deceived by the Gargoyles and Entranced by the Basilisks. Mind you, this starts out right away. Like, this starts faster than the other two books mentioned. But this one goes in it right away. But then it slows down. And I actually have to say, this is like the most character-driven story. Because the plot, you can see it on the blurb. It is a very short blurb. Because that is the plot. That is the premise. She gets pregnant with the baby of a dragon. And they now have to cuddle because he needs to provide warmth for the baby. Usually when you have two dragons, they would babysit the egg while it is incubating and they would breathe fire on it. He, of course, cannot breathe fire onto a human being, so they have to cuddle and he has to, like, magically just turn into a magical heater, basically, for her. And the baby is literally just eating the heat. Like, when he's not doing it, the baby will, for example, draw the heat when she takes a bath, and the baby will draw the warmth from the bath and just turn the water cold, for example. Or like hot food will just not burn her tongue because the baby is absorbing the heat before it can burn her tongue. That is how this baby works, and they somehow have to work around that because they don't know each other, and both of them come with a lot of baggage that is highlighted through the situation they find themselves in. Like, their vulnerabilities are on full display. This was just so good. This was so good. There are a couple of points of critiques I have. Mainly, what the fuck is that cat? Like, the whole bad guy in this story is a pack? A pride of Leonids, which is werewolves but make them lions, I guess. Like, we have the first meeting between our main character and the bad guys, and right after, the chapter right after, she finds an orange cat in the garden. Like, the whole book, I thought this cat is a spy for the Leonids, and in the end it was just a random cat. So that felt a bit kind of disappointing, because literally the cat appearing was a very random thing. So I had hopes it would go somewhere, but it never did. So, it was just kind of there. And I don't usually like things just being kind of there in books. So that was weird. And what else? There was one more. Yes. The blatant setup for the next book. There is no build up to this. There is no build up to this random character being name dropped. And then the best friend has to marry that guy. And that is literally the plot of the next book, Married to the Devil. Like, there's zero setup for the setup of the next book. It just happens, and it kind of feels like it's just in here to make it work. The dragon character, his name is Kalos. He was introduced in the previous book because they needed someone with more access. So they had a problem, they went to Kalos, even though they were scared shitless of Kalos, rightfully so, and asked him for help, and he used his resources to help. So he was just a guy, part of the setting, and then he just happens to be the next character in the series, right? But that new guy for the next book, he was never even teased. He just shows up. I don't even know how to explain it. It feels like a stark contrast. It feels like those videos where they smash cars against the wall to see how things will react. You know? That is kind of how the introduction of the next characters felt. So that definitely kind of put down my enjoyment. But it's like the last 2 or 3 chapters, so whatever. Overall, great book, great characters. I too want to be cuddled by my very own scaly space heater because I am always cold. Hoarded by the Dragon, 4 stars. Hello, this is going to be the wrapping part of the wrap up again. Why, just briefly tell you about the non-fiction audiobooks I've listened to. One being that I made the threat to myself become real. I read Nexus by Yuval Noah Harari, and yeah, existential crisis be crisising. I still think Sapiens was the hardest hitting, and Nexus is not that hard hitting, especially after you read Homo Deus, because it just rehashes a lot of things that from the end of Homo Deus. But oh my god. I could do with a book by Yuval Noah Harari of just informing me and not ending in future predictions for mankind, because these books are incredibly informative. Nexus was incredibly informative, which is funny because it is a book highlighting the way information networks have worked all throughout history, and that is amazing. But then the future predictions come in and you can't help but fear for mankind. I do have to say though, he didn't go as deep into AI horror stories as I thought he would do. So that is a plus, I guess. But yeah, now I only have one Yuval Noah Harari book left in this brief history series, which is 21 Lessons for the 21st Century, I think. And you can bet your left ass cheek that I'm going to listen to that. And another nonfiction audiobook I listened to is Why We Sleep, Unlocking the Power of Sleep and Dreams by Matthew Walker. And yes, it sounds incredibly esoteric, but it is actually a science-based book about sleep science. And it is really interesting to see how sleep works and how it impacts everything humans do. I recommend giving this a read. There are a lot of things in there that you hear thrown around on the internet when it comes to sleep hygiene, but no one ever explains why or how, and this book does it. Like, everyone knows if you sleep like shit, your immune system will shut down at one point. And this book explains you why, or it tries to explain why, because we don't know shit about sleep, let alone dreams. It is such a weird field of science. But this book at least tries to explain why certain things are connected to sleep the way they are, and it explains how things are connected. So, like, immune system, for example, or what happens when you are sleep deprived and shit like that. And he also kind of weirdly dives into the history of sleep and sleep science, which was also interesting. It's a good book. It's a good book. I recommend, if just give it a read. Just give it a read. It's a really fascinating look at something everyone does. I think humans spend like a third of their lifetime sleeping, and the fact that it takes up so much time of our life and we don't know shit about it is just so yeah, Why We Sleep, Matthew Walker. Incredibly interesting to read. Can only recommend, actually. And that's it. That's my wrap for February, where I read 8 books again. I don't know what is possessing me right now, but I think I want to keep this specific demon because wow, I have never read so much in my life, I feel. So yes, keep going. Also, my reads for this month were incredibly good. Like, let me check. Like, my average rating is 4.25. I had 2 5-star reads, the first 2 5-star reads of the year in February, and everything else was 4 stars. Like, what the fuck? I want this to be my whole year. Thank you. But yeah, if you made it this far into the video, leave a heart emoji in the comments if you don't want to say anything, or tell me about how your February went. I mean, we can talk. I talk sometimes, a lot, and yeah. Guess I'll see you in the next video. Bye!